The wind carried the metallic tang of rust and ozone across the broken plain, where gutted machines leaned like the bones of long-dead giants. The human man, Jonas, though no one had said his name out loud in weeks, kept his boots light over the jagged flooring, the remains of the mining colony creaking beneath him. He had come scavenging, hunting for scraps of power cells and intact filters, but what he found instead was a figure slumped against the carcass of a dismantled hauler. For a moment he thought it was another stranded miner, some unlucky soul who hadn't made it out when the last shuttle departed decades ago. But then she raised her head, and the first thing he saw were her ears, long, graceful arcs that swept back past her dark hair, twitching faintly like sensitive instruments measuring the air. Her face was almost human. Almost. "Don't just stand there gawking," she said, voice rasped with fatigue. "Either help me or shoot me. I don't care which." Jonas blinked. "You speak Terran standard." "I also complain in it if that helps," she muttered, shifting with a wince. Her legs trembled, her bare feet bloodied where sharp metal had torn them open. Jonas crouched. "You're hurt." She gave him a look sharp enough to cut steel. "Brilliant observation. Do you write medical manuals?" He grinned despite himself. "Only the chapter on sarcasm." The wind carried the metallic tang of rust and ozone across the broken plain, where gutted machines leaned like the bones of long-dead giants. The human man, Jonas, though no one had said his name out loud in weeks, kept his boots light over the jagged flooring, the remains of the mining colony creaking beneath him. He had come scavenging, hunting for scraps of power cells and intact filters, but what he found instead was a figure slumped against the carcass of a dismantled hauler. For a moment he thought it was another stranded miner, some unlucky soul who hadn't made it out when the last shuttle departed decades ago. But then she raised her head, and the first thing he saw were her ears, long, graceful arcs that swept back past her dark hair, twitching faintly like sensitive instruments measuring the air. Her face was almost human. Almost. "Don't just stand there gawking," she said, voice rasped with fatigue. "Either help me or shoot me. I don't care which." Jonas blinked. "You speak Terran standard." "I also complain in it if that helps," she muttered, shifting with a wince. Her legs trembled, her bare feet bloodied where sharp metal had torn them open. Jonas crouched. "You're hurt." She gave him a look sharp enough to cut steel. "Brilliant observation. Do you write medical manuals?" He grinned despite himself. "Only the chapter on sarcasm." He slid off his pack and dug through the clutter until he found a half-clean strip of cloth. It was torn from an old filtration curtain, smelled faintly of oil and mold, but it would do. He held it up for inspection. "Best I've got." Her long ears flicked, skeptical. "That looks like it belonged to a dead air vent." "Well," he said, kneeling closer, "do you want antiseptic gauze and a team of med droids? Because I'm fresh out." She tilted her head, studying him. Finally, with a sigh, she extended her foot. "Fine, clumsy healer, do your worst." Jonas tried not to think about how her skin looked almost luminous beneath the dust, or how the heat of her foot surprised him as he cleaned the wound. He tried not to notice the way her sharp gaze softened when he worked carefully, wrapping each gash with steady hands. "You're very gentle," she said after a long silence. "Don't tell anyone," Jonas replied, tugging the knot tight. "I have a reputation as a gruff scavenger to uphold." "Ah, yes," she said, lips quirking. "Truly terrifying. I almost screamed when you tripped over that pipe on the way here. That pipe ambushed me." She laughed, the sound catching him off guard. Light, musical, carrying more warmth than this rust-stained place had seen in years. For a heartbeat, the broken colony didn't feel so empty. When he finished wrapping the second foot, she flexed her toes and made a face. "You tie knots like you're trying to wrestle the cloth into submission." "That's because I am. Cloth is a notorious enemy. You humans are strange." "And you aliens are." He glanced at her ears. "What are those heat vents?" "They're ears. They look aerodynamic. Can you glide with them?" Her eyes narrowed, though the smile tugging her mouth betrayed her amusement. "If I could, I would have flown far away from you by now." Jonas leaned back on his heels, studying her more seriously. "You're lucky I found you before the drones did." At that her humor dimmed, and her long ears stiffened. "They are still here. Some old security patrols, programmed to clear out unauthorized life, which, judging by the ears, includes you." "And you," she reminded him. Jonas shrugged. "They're used to me. I feed them old batteries when I find them." She stared. "You feed the drones." "It's more of a bribe," he admitted. "Keeps them from shooting me in the back. Think of it as mechanical diplomacy." Her laugh came again, weaker this time but genuine. She leaned back against the hauler's wreck and closed her eyes. "You're ridiculous." "And you're alive," he said. "That's a start." For a while neither spoke. The ruined colony moaned around them, wind sliding through hollow frames of towers long abandoned. Somewhere in the distance, a drone's faint hum carried on the air, but it did not come closer. At last she opened her eyes again, regarding him with a steadiness that made Jonas's grin falter. "Why did you help me? You don't know me. I could be dangerous." "Everyone's dangerous," Jonas said with a shrug. "I figured I'd take the gamble. Besides," he gestured at her bandaged feet, "you weren't exactly in the mood to chase me down." A small smile tugged at her lips. "Fair point." Jonas extended his hand. "Jonas." She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. Her fingers were long, cool against his calloused palm. "Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated, the name strange and elegant on his tongue. "Well, Lyra, looks like we're stuck in this scrapyard together." She shifted, testing her weight on the bandaged feet. Wincing, she sank back down. "Stuck indeed. I can't walk far." "Then I guess you'll have to let me carry you," Jonas said, deadpan. Her long ears flicked upward. "Carry me? What are you, some kind of pack animal?" "Exactly. Strong back, terrible jokes, low maintenance." She tilted her head. "You forgot the clumsiness." He laughed. "That's a feature, not a bug." For the first time since the colony went silent, Jonas felt the weight in his chest lift, just a little. She was an alien, injured and mysterious, but sitting beside her in the ruins, exchanging jabs like old friends. He felt something unfamiliar, a spark of companionship, something worth keeping alive. And though the night wind carried the hum of patrolling drones closer, Jonas found himself grinning, because whatever came next, at least he wasn't alone anymore. Jonas woke to the sound of metal groaning, the kind of sound that meant either the colony was collapsing around him, or something heavy was shifting nearby. He opened one eye and saw Lyra sitting on a broken crate, ears perked, eyes glinting in the pale glow of the emergency lights still flickering from long-dead consoles. She was chewing on something, though he was fairly certain there hadn't been anything edible left in this sector for years. "What is that?" he asked, voice gravelly from sleep. "Protein ration," she said, as if that explained everything. Jonas sat up. "That looks like insulation foam." "It tastes like protein ration." She took another bite, unbothered. "You humans season yours with salt. We prefer regret." He groaned, dragging himself upright. "If I die of food poisoning, I'm haunting you." "Haunt away," she said, smirking. "I've never been haunted before." Jonas stretched, his joints popping. He noticed she was testing her feet again, standing briefly before leaning back with a wince. The bandages he'd tied were already stained, though not as badly as yesterday. "You're healing," he said. "I'm enduring," she corrected. "Healing takes time, enduring takes stubbornness. I have both." "Well, good. You'll need both if we're getting out of this heap alive." Lyra tilted her head, ears twitching like radar dishes. "Out? Where would you go? The colony is dead. The comms are silent. Space traffic ignores this sector like it's cursed." Jonas grinned. "You make it sound romantic." "It's a graveyard." "Graveyards make good hiding spots," he countered. "Unless you've got a better idea." She opened her mouth, closed it again, then smirked. "Yes. Find a working ship, repair it, and escape. Easy." "Oh, sure. Should we also build a resort while we're at it? Maybe open a gift shop. Come see the ruins where two idiots starved to death." Her laugh was soft but genuine. "You have spirit, Jonas." And you have ears big enough to catch passing signals. Can't you just, he waved vaguely toward her head, tune into something? Her brows furrowed. They are not signal receivers. You sure? Because if I hang a radio antenna between them, I bet I'd get clearer channels. Try it, she warned, ears flattening slightly, and I'll make sure you never hear again. Jonas grinned, satisfied. Knew you were warming up to me. Their banter was cut short by a sharp electronic chirp from above. Both froze. The sound repeated, echoing against the steel husks around them. Lyra's ears stiffened and Jonas's grin fell. Drone, he whispered. She was already moving, pushing herself to her feet despite the pain. Jonas grabbed her arm, steadying her. Not yet, it's scanning. The air filled with a low hum, mechanical and steady, as a faint red light swept across the ruined corridor. Jonas shoved Lyra into the shadow of a collapsed wall and pressed close beside her. The light crawled across the debris, pausing dangerously near where they hid. Breathe quieter, Jonas mouthed. I am breathing quietly, she mouthed back. You sound like an exhaust fan. You smell like one. The red beam lingered, then finally swept past. The hum receded into the distance. Only when the silence returned did Jonas exhale. That was close, he muttered. Lyra leaned against the wall, her expression unreadable. They're hunting me. Jonas studied her, specifically you. She nodded slowly. Not just the colony's automated patrols. Someone reactivated them. They're searching for me. Jonas rubbed the back of his neck. Any reason why you steal something, insult someone's mother? Her lips curved, yes. He blinked, wait, you actually. She shook her head, laughing. No, but your face was worth it. Jonas groaned. I'm risking my neck for a comedian. You chose this gamble, she reminded him. Then her voice softened. But if you want to leave me, do it now. It will only get worse. He gave her a long look, then hoisted his pack onto his shoulder. Yeah, not really my style. Besides, who else would insult me with such dedication? Her smile faltered just slightly, as if she hadn't expected that answer. They moved through the colony carefully, Jonas guiding her down half-collapsed stairways and across catwalks that groaned under their weight. Lyra leaned on him more than she wanted to admit, though she masked it with sharp comments. Careful, Jonas muttered, catching her when her foot slipped. Clumsy healer rescues me again, she said wryly. You keep this up, I'll start charging. How much? 2 jokes per rescue. She chuckled, you'll bankrupt me. The further they went, the more the colony revealed its secrets. Rusted bulkheads gave way to storage halls still littered with alien crates, humming faintly with forgotten power. Jonas cracked one open, half expecting dust, and nearly dropped it when a faint blue glow pulsed inside. Energy cells, he whispered. Lyra's ears perked. Intact. You're just pushing random glowing things, aren't you? He teased, her ears angled sharply. I know exactly what I'm doing. Sure you do. A sharp spark erupted from the panel, making Jonas jump. Lyra smirked. See. Perfectly under control. Right, Jonas muttered. Remind me never to let you fix my coffee maker. Despite her sarcasm, the console slowly powered up. A faint hum grew stronger, lights flickered, and a central display projected a rotating star map. Jonas stepped closer, eyes wide. Look at that, he whispered. She's showing us the whole sector. Lyra studied it carefully, her ears angling forward. There, she said, pointing to a blinking marker. A comm relay, still functional. Jonas grinned. You mean we might actually call for help? Possibly, if it hasn't been rerouted. Her tone was cautious. Signals can be traced. If I send a call, they'll know where I am. Jonas's grin faded. And that's bad because... Her gaze lingered on the map, and for the first time her humor slipped away completely. Because they're not just drones, Jonas. They're mercenaries, hired hunters, humans. He blinked. Wait, humans, my humans. Yes, yours. He rubbed his face. Well, fantastic. Nothing says loyalty like being hunted by your own species. Lyra's lips quirked faintly. Welcome to my life. Jonas groaned. Great, just great. So now I'm not only hiding from machines, I'm betraying my own people. She glanced at him. Do you regret it? He met her eyes, then shrugged. Not yet, though I might if you get me vaporized. She smiled, small but genuine. Fair bargain. The moment lingered before the generator gave a shudder, lights flickering more brightly. Jonas leaned against the railing, shaking his head. You know, I thought scavenging here would just mean finding spare parts and maybe a rusted-out toaster. Instead, I end up babysitting an alien with fancy ears while being chased by killer drones and mercenaries. My luck is impeccable. Babysitting, Lyra repeated, ears flicking. You're the one tripping over pipes and bribing machines with batteries. Hey, that was tactical genius. She laughed again, the sound echoing faintly in the chamber. And despite the weight of mercenaries closing in, despite the fact that the whole sector seemed out to kill them, Jonas found himself laughing too, because it was either that or break apart completely. For now, the two of them stood together in the heart of the ruined colony, a glowing star map between them, knowing the fight was far from over, but sharing just enough humor to keep moving forward. Jonas stared at the star map long after the glow had started to dim, as if the universe might suddenly rearrange itself into a more helpful shape. Lyra, on the other hand, was busy rewiring part of the console with the calm efficiency of someone used to surviving on the edge of disaster. Sparks jumped at her fingertips, but she never flinched. You sure you know what you're doing? Jonas asked, arms crossed. No, she said cheerfully, but if it explodes, at least we won't have to worry about mercenaries. Great, love the optimism, Jonas muttered. Explosive death as Plan A, I'd hate to see Plan B. She smirked without looking at him. Plan B is explosive death, but slower. He groaned, leaning against the railing. You're terrible at pep talks. And you're terrible at shutting up, she shot back, her ears twitching as if punctuating the insult. The console buzzed and a line of alien script scrolled across the display. Lyra read quickly, her expression tightening. They're closer than I thought, less than a day out. Jonas frowned. The Mercs. Yes, a ship. Human design, heavy armored, retrofitted with drone control bays. Wonderful, Jonas said. So not only are they armed to the teeth, but they also brought a swarm of murder frisbees. Lyra gave him a curious look. Murder frisbees. That's what they are, Jonas said. Flying, spinning death, frisbees with attitude. Her ears flicked as she tried not to laugh. You're ridiculous. Ridiculously correct, he replied. Lyra bent back over the console. We need to decide. If I use this relay to call my people, the mercenaries will intercept the signal and come directly here. If I don't, then we sit here waiting for them to show up anyway, Jonas finished. He drummed his fingers on the railing. Not much of a choice. She hesitated, then glanced at him. You don't owe me this. You could still hide, slip away, survive on your own. If you call them, they'll see you as my accomplice. There will be no going back. Jonas tilted his head, studying her. You really don't get it, do you? You say things like that and I hear. Stay here and eat cold ration paste alone forever. And frankly, I'd rather get shot at than deal with that. Her lips curved faintly. You'd risk everything because you're bored. Partly, he admitted, but also because you make terrible food choices. Someone has to introduce you to toast. Lyra laughed, soft but genuine. You're impossible. And yet here I am. He leaned in. So, what's the plan, partner? For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she squared her shoulders and began entering commands into the console. We send the signal, but we'll need a distraction to keep them off us until help arrives. Jonas perked up. Distractions I can do. I once convinced a security droid that a mop was a dangerous weapon. Lyra gave him a side glance. You're proud of that. It was a very convincing mop. She shook her head, ears twitching in amusement, but her eyes remained sharp on the controls. We'll need more than cleaning supplies this time. The reactor can overload if we reroute the power incorrectly. Jonas raised an eyebrow. Overload, as in big boom. As in vaporize half the colony boom, she clarified. Perfect. Jonas said with a grin. Nothing distracts mercenaries like the possibility of being turned into ash. Lyra sighed. You're entirely too comfortable with explosions. I've made peace with them. They follow me around like lost puppies. Before she could reply, the console beeped, signaling the outgoing transmission. Lyra's expression tightened again. It's sent. Now we wait. Waiting's not my strong suit, Jonas said. Tell me a joke. She arched an eyebrow. I don't know any human jokes. Then tell me one of yours. She thought for a moment, then said, Why don't planetary engineers ever get married? Jonas shrugged. Why? Because they have too many commitment issues. He blinked at her. That's awful. She grinned. You asked. He groaned, running a hand over his face. I think I like being chased by drones better. Her ears twitched with amusement, but before she could answer, the distant echo of metal footsteps reverberated through the chamber. Both of them went silent instantly. Lyra's ears angled toward the sound. Jonas slowly pulled a battered wrench from his belt, gripping it like a weapon. Don't, she whispered. It's a patrol. Patrol, mercs, drones, call them what you like. I call them soon-to-be victims of my wrench diplomacy. You can't fight a squad of mercenaries with a wrench. Jonas smirked. That's quitter talk. The footsteps grew louder, joined by the hum of drones. Red lights began sweeping across the chamber walls. Lyra grabbed Jonas's sleeve and tugged him toward the shadows. They crouched behind a pile of collapsed conduit as a squad of armored humans entered, their helmets glowing faintly with HUD overlays. Jonas whispered, You know, I used to think humans were the good guys. They're the ones who paid the mercenaries, Lyra murmured back. Figures, can't ever trust a paycheck. The mercenaries spread out, scanning the room. One of the drones drifted closer to their hiding spot. Jonas tensed, ready to swing his wrench. Lyra touched his arm and shook her head. She leaned close, whispering so quietly he almost didn't hear. When I say run, run. Jonas whispered back, Define run. Move your legs quickly before you die. Got it. The drone's red beam swept over their hiding place, paused, then jerked away as Lyra pressed a hidden button on the console she'd reprogrammed. Lights flared across the chamber, alarms blaring, and the entire floor shuddered as power surged toward the reactor. Run! Lyra shouted. Jonas grabbed her hand without hesitation, and together they sprinted into the maze of corridors as the mercenaries cursed and alarms howled, the promise of an explosion chasing them into the dark. Jonas had never been a graceful runner. He knew it, Lyra knew it, and the collapsing colony definitely knew it. Every step seemed to trip on a pipe or clang against a loose panel, but somehow, with alarms wailing and mercenaries shouting behind them, his legs kept moving. Lyra clutched his arm for balance, half running, half leaning, her ears flicking at every echo of pursuit. Where exactly are we going? He panted. Anywhere that isn't exploding, she snapped, then caught herself, smirking despite the chaos. Try to keep up, clumsy healer. Try to stop bleeding on my shoulder, he retorted. They burst through a bulkhead into a cargo bay that looked untouched by time. Containers loomed like monoliths, some still glowing faintly with internal power. In the center sat a small shuttle, half covered in dust and abandoned equipment. Jonas's jaw dropped. Is that? Lyra's eyes widened. It might still fly. Or it might turn us into a crater, Jonas said. 50-50, right? She grinned. Your favorite odds. They scrambled inside, Jonas fumbling with the controls while Lyra rerouted power cells with practiced precision. Outside, mercenaries' shouts grew louder, boots pounding closer. Jonas tried not to look at the hatch that hadn't sealed in years. Come on, he muttered, slapping the console. Work for me, you beautiful pile of bolts. The shuttle groaned, coughed, and lights flickered to life. Lyra slid into the co-pilot's chair, her fingers flying over alien controls. Engines primed, shields questionable, weapons non-existent. So basically my dating profile, Jonas muttered. The hatch banged as mercenaries tried to force it open. Lyra shot him a glance. Jonas now. He slammed the thruster control forward. The shuttle roared, shaking off decades of dust as it lurched upward. The mercenaries scattered, gunfire sparking harmless